Welcome to the River Valley Redneck. In this video, we're going to talk about some late season scouting. I'm up at the National Forest hunting public land. That's pretty much all I hunt. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that might help you out later in your seasons to help with the following season that coming up the end of the year. Some of the things I like to look for, a lot of it you can't really see at the beginning of the season. Some of the stuff, when all the surroundings start dying back some, it exposes a lot of trails that you normally wouldn't see otherwise. So I always look for beaten down paths that you can't really see with the growth that we have here in Arkansas during the first part of the season. So January, February, and March is a great time to get in the woods to scout out and just look and see what you can find that might help you out for your next season. Another thing that I like to look for is older rubs, and sometimes you can actually find some older scrapes that you can still tell that were scrapes. Those will also help you in the season. If you can get them kind of patterned down early, you can start watching them, put some game cameras on there if you feel brave enough to put some on public land. I do, but I don't put expensive cameras out. I'm kind of a cheapskate, I guess you could say. I don't believe in spending $500 for cellular cameras or $300 for these cellular cameras. And I go to Walmart and I'll pick up a $30 camera, because if it gets stolen out here on the public land, I'm not going to be as upset. I'm still going to be upset, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be as upset as losing a $300 camera. But you can find these older rubs and scrapes most of the time. The deer will follow back the very next year and start hitting them again. You can pretty much, as long as that deer made it through the season, you can almost guarantee that that deer will come back and do the same trees, just one right after another. I mean, you can almost put a pin in it. He's going to do it. It's his territory, and he's going to continue to mark his territory until he's no longer there. And another thing that I like to do is drive around. If you do a lot of driving around, you'll find where the deer cross the main roads. And if you can find where the deer cross the main roads, a lot of times you can find a pinch point to where you can set up on them and you can be able to get a shot at one of them. Now me, I'm not in it for the horns. A lot of these guys, don't get me wrong, if that's their thing, that's their thing, that's fine. But people have been watching TV too much and seeing all of these TV shows with the deer hunters, and everything's got to be a Boone and Crockett deer. You know, it's got to be huge rack. It's not. No, that's not the reason that we should be out in the woods hunting. We should do it because we love being outdoors, because you love eating the animal that you harvest. Me, I absolutely love deer meat. I mean, I make jerky out of it, deer steaks, smoke some tenderloins. There's nothing like it. You know where your meat's coming from that way, and you know you don't have to worry about salmonella poisoning and all this stuff that's, you know, in lettuce and all that. You know, you're your own grocery store basically. So another thing I like to do is I process my own deer most of the time. There are occasions where I have taken it to a processor to have the whole thing just ground up into ground deer meat, because my wife loves ground meat. So most of the time I'll do my own processing, and if I'm fortunate enough to get one in the morning, I'll probably do a little video on that, you know, show you my ways of doing it. I got my deer hoist up here. I got my Jeep. I'm camping out up here tonight. I just wanted to get out of town, be here on the last day of season. Tomorrow's the last day of this season's. So I figured, what better time to get in the woods and enjoy it. And I highly recommend that everybody do this every once in a while. Just get out here and enjoy it. Even if I don't kill anything tomorrow, I'm good with that. I saw 5 deer feeding on a field today. That made my weekend already. I just love being out here. Love seeing the deer. Love seeing the wildlife. Just get out in Mother Nature and enjoy it. And another thing that you're going to hear me harping on a lot throughout a bunch of my videos is family. If you have kids, boy or girl, do your best to get them into outdoor stuff. Don't let them sit around TVs and playing Xbox or PlayStations all the time. Get them outdoors. Get them doing something, whether it be fishing, hiking, hunting. Get them outdoors and get them into something. You know, they'll be a lot happier in the long run. They'll have a whole lot of great memories with you or whoever it is that's taking them. But, you know, that's another thing that I like to harp on is memories. I love being out here by myself like this. That's great. But there is nothing like being out here with family and friends. That's even better. You know, this last hunting season is going to be probably one of my most favorite memories ever camping. We come up here and my buddies was all up here. My dad was up here. I was out here in the field cutting some wood up, and I strapped a gigantic log to the front of my four-wheeler, and I had to slam on the brakes when I was bringing it back up to camp, and a strap broke. Well, the strap come back and hit me in the ear, and that thing was just bleeding like crazy. Well, my buddies, they were out putting a deer stand up for the next morning hunt. So they come back into camp, and I'm holding up a piece of toilet paper to my ear, and they're trying to get it to stop bleeding. He looks at me, he goes, "Man, what happened?" Before I could say anything, my dad turned and looked at him and said, "He was attacked by a squirrel." Well, needless to say, he fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. So for the entire weekend, he believed that I was out cutting a log up, and apparently a squirrel was denned up in it, and the squirrel wasn't happy, so he climbed up my leg and up my shoulders and latched onto my ear and just about tore my ear off. Well, he messaged my wife. My wife messages her whole family, so now her whole family thinks that I've been attacked by a killer squirrel, and I happen to work with her dad. So he tells everybody in his department that I was attacked by a killer squirrel and I'm going to be out of work for several weeks. So one of the guys finally runs into me at work, and he's like, "Oh my God, I heard you got attacked by a squirrel." I had to explain to him what happened. But everybody honestly thought that I had been attacked by a squirrel, including my buddy, and he's my best friend in the world. I wouldn't trade him for nothing. Wish he was up here with me right now, actually. But just things like that. I'm gonna cherish that memory for the rest of my life. Just the fun, the camaraderie we have. If you have kids, bring them with you. My dad growing up, anytime I wanted to go out hunting, scouting, fishing, you name it, he was all for it. If he didn't have to work, he was taking me if I wanted to go. And I love him for it. And I'll never forget it. You know, and I'm not fortunate enough to have my own kids, but I encourage you that if you do have kids, get them outdoors. Create some memories with them. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in some of these videos coming up on this one. I'll splice a few in there, show you what I look for late season hunt, but I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, got some tips for you when you're out doing some scouting, while you're out walking around. Make sure you bring something to drink with you. You know, got to stay hydrated, check. But also, equally as important, possibly even more important, don't forget toilet paper. I made a bonehead move, kind of a rookie mistake, I guess you could say, and I've forgotten my toilet paper. And, well, let's just say I hope sacrifices don't have to be made. I kind of like this shirt. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I'm still wearing this shirt at the end of the video. We'll see you in a few. Walking around the edge of a field. A buddy of mine found a small shed on it a couple weeks back. I figured I'd give it another look. But I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, if at all. But right here on the ground, coming right out to where the scrape was, and got the typical branch up top where they can rub their heads on and put some more scent out. But you can see a clear, distinct path heading off in the woods right there where they're coming out. Normally you probably wouldn't be able to see this during regular part of the first season because it'd be growed up so bad it'd be really hard to tell. But when it's dyed back like this, you can kind of see it quite a bit better. That's the kind of things I look for when I'm out looking late season. So I know that they're entering the field quite a bit right there. They're doing it enough to where they've got the ground marked down a little bit to where you can actually see a trail now. Said I don't know how well it's going to show up on the video. It's kind of hard to tell. But coming out right onto that scrape, that's a good sign for next year, or this upcoming season this year, if he made it. I'll find out if he made it by putting a trail camera on it later on in the year, just before deer season starts. And I'll put a camera on that trail, probably in 2 or 3 spots going down that trail, to kind of pattern their movements to see if they're heading towards the field in the evening or the morning, or if they're coming off the field in the evening or in the morning right there. Because sometimes they'll use multiple trails. One trail they will go into the fields in the mornings, and they'll take another field or another trail off the field when they leave. You know, and it could be in the afternoons they do that. So you need to put some cameras out and just kind of get a feel for what they're doing, because deer, they're kind of creatures of habit. They kind of have a routine, and they'll typically stick to it until they get a lot of hunting pressure. And once they get a hunting pressure, then they'll either go nocturnal or they'll just completely change their routines. That's where you want the cameras up to try to pattern them to where you can get them early before they go nocturnal or change their patterns. And another thing on scrapes is a buck will typically visit his scrape about once every 3 days. That's usually about the time frame that they will go out and they will check their scrapes, is about every 3 days. When the rut gets closer, they're probably hitting them a little bit more often than that. They'll probably go down to once or twice a day as they start getting activity with the does being in heat, and they'll start sensing them in heat and smelling them. So they'll start checking a little bit more often. But when they first start making their scrapes, you can typically set up on them and wait for them. Basically, about every 3 days they'll be coming through and checking their there's another beat down path on that same field. You can see it pretty good through the camera, it looks like. But right through here and right through there, and they go off in the woods through there. It's like I was saying, there's multiple paths. They don't stick to just one set path. They'll have several coming in and out of fields that they use quite a bit. See, you probably wouldn't see that at all with that ryegrass stuff growed up so high during the regular first part of the season. That's one reason I love getting out here at this time of year, is to get a feel for where the deer are, where they're coming through, get some ideas of where to set up next year to get the best advantage I can to kill an animal, to harvest it and bring it home. Walked about a mile, maybe a mile and a half up this field. Come easing down to it, and I got deer in the middle of the field here. I don't know how well you can see it, but there they are right there. I thought they had moved off the back of the field, but apparently they came back. Looks like one of them was back off in the tree line itself. Two of them right here on the field. And I'm stuck standing still, frozen, afraid to move. They know I'm here, they just don't know what I am.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about scrapes and rubs real quick. Start with scrapes. A lot of times you can look at the scrape and sometimes get an idea for how big the deer is possibly. If you look at a scrape, sometimes they'll take their antlers and they will scrape their antlers on the ground, and you can kind of count the points that are on the antlers and see it scraped into the ground. You can get an idea whether it might be a 4 point, 6 point, something bigger, sometimes an 8 point. You know, it's not always foolproof, but it gives you a general idea of how to possibly tell how big the animal is without having a camera on it. I'll insert a picture up here and kind of show you what I'm talking about. You'll be able to see the scrapes with what looks like somebody took a stick basically and just put a line in it, and you can kind of count the lines for each side of the horns to get an idea. Now, on rubs, when you walk up on a rub, you'll see the rub on the tree, and you can kind of tell the direction that the deer is headed or was facing when he made the rub, because that side of the tree, it's going to be rubbed clean from him taking his antlers and going up and down on them. And on a rubbed line, that's kind of what you're looking for, is a rubbed line. They go through there and they'll mark several trees in a row, and you can get an idea for what direction that deer was traveling when he went through there and started rubbing them trees. And they go through and they rub the trees quite a bit. They hit the same ones over and over again. They make a rubbed line. And I'll show you a picture of a rub there. You can see the deer was facing the tree when he made that rub. But on some of them, they put a rub right next to a scrape. Not really any way to tell without a camera showing what direction they were going, because when he makes a rub next to a scrape, it's usually right in front of the scrape or right next to the scrape, but it's usually he's going to be going to the left or the right of that scrape most of the time. And I'll show you a picture of one next to a scrape there. You can kind of see it. You know, I hope you found my video informative, and hope you learned a little bit something from it. Maybe you can take that knowledge and use it to your advantage for this next upcoming hunting season that's coming up this end of the year. You know, in case you were wondering, the shirt made it. I didn't have to make any sacrifices. You know, just thought I'd throw that in there. But don't forget to take you some toilet paper with you when you go on a long hike, scouting trip, whatever. You might need it. Hope you enjoy, and I hope to see you again.